Okay, so you guys have been sending in some really fascinating stuff about this potential Trump cabinet and what it could mean for U.S.-China relations.
Yeah.
And it seems like we're in for some pretty big changes.
Definitely.
So let's dive in and see if this is going to be a new era of like straight up competition.
Right.
Or could things get even more tense?
Yeah. I think that the big question is how much of a departure from the previous administration's policies.
Exactly, yeah, because we've seen some swings back and forth.
Absolutely.
Over the past few years.
Yeah,
so
it's going to be interesting.
To really understand like what this shift could look like, we got to look at who's going to be in charge.
Absolutely, the people who are going to be making the decisions.
Yeah, so let's talk about some of these cabinet picks.
Okay.
I mean, we've got some people who are known for being pretty tough on China.
Yeah, definitely some China hawks.
Yeah, like Marco Rubio.
Oh, yeah.
As Secretary of State.
If he gets that position, that's a huge...
He's banned from China.
Yeah, that's a big statement.
That's a statement right there.
That's not just symbolic either.
No.
I mean, he has been a vocal critic of China on issues like human rights, intellectual property theft.
Yeah, he's really advocated for using economic pressure.
Yeah.
Like sanctions and trade restrictions.
Exactly. And I think
to try to change China's behavior.
That really goes back to kind of a Cold War mentality.
Oh, interesting.
That idea of containment,
okay.
Trying to limit China's influence.
But instead of like tanks and missiles.
Right. It's a different kind of containment.
It's economic.
Economic
warfare.
Yeah, you could call it that. Yeah. I mean, it's about using the tools of the global economy to put pressure on China.
And it's not just Rubio.
Yeah.
Right?
Not at all.
I mean, we've got Mike Waltz.
Right. Potentially as national security advisor.
Yeah, who has a military background.
Right.
And he sees China as like an existential threat.
He has called them that, yes.
Which is a pretty strong statement.
Yeah. I mean, when you say existential threat, you're saying that this is a fundamental challenge to the U.S.
The way of life.
Exactly.
Our place in the world.
Yeah. And he's been pushing for a stronger military presence in the Indo-Pacific region.
Which is
and strong support for Taiwan.
Yeah. A huge potential flashpoint.
Absolutely.
And then we have John Ratcliffe. Who could be leading the CIA.
Yeah, who's been very focused on China.
And he sees China's actions as like a direct threat to democracy.
Yeah, I mean, he's really framed it as a clash of values.
Wow.
Democracy versus authoritarianism.
Okay, so we've got Rubio on diplomacy.
Yeah.
Waltz on the military side.
National security.
Ratcliffe on intelligence.
Intelligence gathering.
This is starting to sound like a very coordinated effort.
It does, doesn't it?
It's like a multi-pronged approach to put pressure on China.
Right, and I think that's one of the things that makes this potential cabinet so interesting, because it's not just one area where they're focusing.
It's all these different areas at the same time.
I mean, it's a whole of government approach, you could say.
And that could be really effective, but it could also...
really risky.
Right?
Yeah,
if it's not handled carefully.
There's a real risk of escalation.
Yeah, like it could backfire and actually make things worse.
Absolutely. I mean, if you push too hard, it could lead to unintended consequences.
Right.
China could respond in ways that nobody expects.
I mean, we also have to factor in Trump's personal relationship with Xi Jinping.
Right.
I mean, that's a whole other layer of complexity.
Yeah, because Trump has always been a bit of a wild card when it comes to foreign policy.
Like we've seen him praise Xi Jinping 1 minute.
Yeah.
And then slap tariffs on Chinese goods the next.
Right. And so it's really hard to predict how he would approach.
In a second term.
Yeah.
How he would approach this relationship.
And how much influence this cabinet would actually have on him.
Yeah, because he might listen to him.
Right.
Or he might just do his own thing.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got this potentially hawkish cabinet.
Yeah.
We've got Trump, who's unpredictable.
Right.
And then we've got this other wild card, which is Elon Musk.
Oh, yeah.
Who might be part of the cabinet.
Potentially.
And he's got these huge business interests in China.
Yeah, with Tesla.
So how do you think he would fit into all of this?
I think he could be a moderating influence.
Interesting.
He's a businessman.
Yeah.
He understands the importance of the Chinese market.
Right.
And so he might be more cautious about taking actions that could damage those economic ties.
So it could be like a good cop, a bad cop situation.
Yeah, you could see that dynamic playing out with some members of the cabinet pushing for a hard line.
Right.
And Musk maybe advocating for a more pragmatic approach.
Okay. And all of this is happening against the backdrop of this larger competition between the U.S. and China. in the Indo-Pacific region.
It's a geopolitical chess game, you know, with countries like Japan and Australia also trying to figure out their place.
And they're looking to the U.S. for leadership?
Absolutely.
But Trump has also been skeptical of these, like, multilateral agreements.
Yeah, he's more of a bilateral kind of guy.
So could that be a problem?
It could be.
If he tries to go it alone in the region?
Yeah, because it could alienate potential partners and create opportunities for China.
Like, imagine if the U.S. is trying to strengthen its alliances with Japan and Australia.
Right.
But then it's also pulling back from these broader regional agreements.
Right.
That could send mixed messages.
Exactly.
And it could actually weaken the U.S. position.
It could.
In the long run.
Yeah. I mean, the key is to find a balance between strengthening those individual relationships and maintaining a broader strategic framework.
Okay. So we've got the personalities. We've got the geopolitics. And then we've also got this legal aspect to consider.
Yes.
Because some of these actions that are being proposed, like sanctions and tech bans, they could face legal challenges.
They could, both domestically and internationally.
So it's not just about what you do.
Exactly.
It's about how you do it.
It's about doing it in a way that's legally defensible. And that doesn't backfire.
Okay, so to wrap this all up,
it
seems like we're heading into a very uncertain period.
Definitely uncharted waters.
Yeah, in U.S.-China relations.
Yeah.
With a lot of potential for both cooperation and conflict.
Absolutely. And I think
it's going to depend a lot on the choices that are made.
On all sides.
By both sides.
Yeah.
And by the people who are in charge.
And on how well they understand the complexities of this relationship.
So this is where you come in, dear listener.
Right.
I mean, based on what you've heard today.
What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah. What do you think the future holds for the U.S. and China?
Yeah.
Is it going to be a new Cold War?
Right.
Or can they find a way to cooperate?
And what does it mean for the rest of the world?
And what does it mean for the rest of the world?
Yeah.
I mean, this is a relationship that affects everyone.
Absolutely.
So keep thinking about it.
Keep learning.
Keep learning. Keep digging.
Yeah, and stay engaged.
Stay engaged.
Because this is a conversation that's not going away.
This is a conversation that's not going away.